Hello everyone, I am Niharika and I am here to explain Chapter 10 Kathmandu by Vikram Seth from Class 9 English Literature Beehive. So let's start. Synopsis of Kathmandu. Kathmandu summary will help students learn about the story written by Vikram Seth, which is an excerpt from his book Heaven Lake. So this is a story written by Vikram Seth. It's an extract from his book Heaven Lake. This story tells us about the author's visit to the capital of Nepal, Kathmandu. So, this story tells about his visit to the capital of Nepal, that is Kathmandu. We see that he was coming from China to visit India via hitchhiking. So, we see that he was coming from China to visit India through hitchhiking. Hitchhiking is nothing but is taking lift while traveling. In this hitchhiking, he crosses Tibet and Nepal. Thus, this story gives us an account of his experience in Kathmandu. So, this story will account on his experience in Kathmandu, how he felt in Kathmandu. This travelogue gives an insight on his trip to the city and what he feels about it. On his trip to Kathmandu, Vikram visits the two most popular temple of the city. One is Pasupatinath temple and other is Buddhanath stupa. So he traveled to most popular temples of this city, that is Pasupatinath temple and the other is Buddhanath stupa. He notices the difference between the two temples and the atmosphere surrounding them. So he notices a lot of the difference between these two temples. Thus, through Kathmandu story, we travel to the city without actually going there through Vikram's magical world. So, this is a summary about the virtual exploring of this place. So, now let's start with the summary. Summary of Kathmandu. Vikram Seth describes this visit to the capital of Nepal, Kathmandu, through his excerpt from his book Heaven Lake. So he describes his experience in the capital of Nepal, that is Kathmandu, and this is the extract from his book Heaven Lake. During his trip, he visits two temples where he notices stark difference between them. So during his trip to Kathmandu, he visits two temples and he saw so many differences between them. One temple was pilgrimage for Hindus. The Pasupatinath temple was pilgrimage for the Hindus. After that, there was a Buddhanath temple, which is for the Buddhist, and the other one was Buddhist temple. He notices that they restricted the entry at the Pasupatinath temple to only Hindus. So Pasupatinath temple was restricted only to Hindus, nobody else was allowed in there. Thus, there was quite a chaos among the tourists, priests, and the pilgrims. So, because of this restriction, there was a lot of confusion between the tourists, priests, and the pilgrims who went to take a visit to this temple. To top it all, people were polluting the river Bagmati by washing clothes in it, bathing in it, and throwing away dirty flowers in it. But to his notice, he saw people polluting the river. They were washing the clothes, they were bathing in it, and they were throwing dry flowers, which they offered to God. After that, he went to Buddhanath temple. He saw that the scenario here was completely different from what he saw at the Pasupatinath temple. So he then after that he took the visit to Buddhanath temple, and there he saw that the scene and the situation was completely different from the earlier temple he visited. This Buddhist temple had a huge dome which is white in color. So this temple had a dome. This temple was dome shaped and it was white in color. The place was very calm and serene. The place was quite soothing. The place had a serenic view. Outside the temple, there was a Tibetan market, and people were selling bags, clothes, ornaments, and more. So, outside this Buddhist temple, there was a Tibetan market which were selling clothes, bag, some ornaments. He notices the numerous things Kathmandu offers, from religious places to many tourist destinations. So he noticed that Kathmandu is not only for religious purposes but also for traveling destinations. Moreover, it also has various shops for antiques, cameras, cosmetics, chocolates, and more. So he also saw that the market is there are a lot of markets for antiques, cameras, cosmetics, chocolates, and all. Nothing less, it is also very noisy city, from the car horns to the music and vendor. So he noticed that this Kathmandu city is very noisy because of car horns and the seller, and because of the market around. He enjoyed having a marzipan bar, corn, Coca-Cola in the city. So he had marzipan bar. Marzipan bar is a candy made from honey and ground almonds, and he had corn and Coca-Cola in that city. After that, he also read love stories, comics, and Reader's Digest book. Then after that, to pass the time, he read some love stories, some comics, and some digest books. On returning to Delhi, he thought of taking an adventurous route which comprises of a bus or train journey and then a boat ride. But he dropped the idea, for that would have been too tiring. So on returning Delhi, he thought that he will take a adventurous ride which will comprise of traveling in buses and then a boat ride. But he dropped the idea because he thought it would be very tiring. Thus he booked a flight back. So then he thought of booking a flight back. He saw an interesting flute seller outside his hotel. He had a pole with a lot of flutes on it and seemed like a porcupine body. So outside his hotel, he saw a flute seller, and the flute seller has a pole like structure with a lots of flute on it, and it seemed like a porcupine body. Porcupine is a animal with thorns all over his body. The flute seller kept selling his flute and also did so in different tunes. So the flute seller was selling his flutes, and he was doing it in a different tones. He was playing the flute in a different tones. But what set him apart from the other flute seller was that he played the flute thoughtfully. So this flute seller was playing this flute in a more soothing and more calming way, which attracted the author's attention. He did not scream to attract customers, he just played it. So he was not intended to scream and attract the customer, he was just playing his flute. This attracted the author, and he wondered that flute is so common all over here. So he just uh, took a glance on the flute seller, and he felt that this flute is common all over here in Kathmandu. Then he compared it to the human voice and say how he is noticing even the little thing. So he just compared this flute tones with the human voice, and he thought that he started noticing smaller things, little things now. So what we can conclude from this story is that we should maintain the purity and serenity of the holy places, and we shouldn't be polluting them, and we should practice, and we should be thoughtful in our actions. So this was all about this story Kathmandu. Hope this helps. Thank you.